Chapter 11, Microchips. The end goal is to get everybody chipped, to control the whole of society, to have the bankers and the elite people control the world. Nick Rockefeller. Comment to Hollywood producer Aaron Russo. In the near future, the US government plans to further their control over the lives of Americans by introducing microchipping for their citizens' children. Such decisions of further regulation to help people are debatable, but such decisions must be at least questioned. A premise of a government to microchip people in order to track people is definitely questionable. Obviously, such technology could protect children from being kidnapped, but surely you have to look past this, as the rabbit hole goes much deeper. Mother of 3 Stephanie Rodriguez nearly says if a small chip the size of a grain of rice could have prevented a tragedy, I think most parents would have said, I think I would have done it. This comment is evidential of the breeding ground of Project Fear that is commonplace around the world. This fear is a part of the worldwide system that infects every nation on Earth, and this system has been honed to perfection for a long time now. Electronics expert Stuart Lipoff compares microchips in humans to barcodes on store products. When barcodes first came out in the late 1960s, people were appalled. They were wary of them and didn't understand the concept. Today it is so common that we don't even notice. A microchip would work in the same way. People are more than just barcodes. They are individual expressions of consciousness with unique personalities and deserve to be treated as more than just cattle or sheep on a farm. There are differences between barcodes that identify a product and store information compared to tracking devices stored inside people. If parents can gain access to a child's location, then that is one question, but what if this information is hacked by the many pedophiles or Satanists upon planet Earth? That child is stripped of choice and also freedom, living with a decision that others have made for them. Microchips holding medical information in order to be accessed by physicians and medical staff could be advantageous, but I believe that the answer to this possibility should be given to the individual concerned when they have reached an age of maturity. In July of 2015, it was reported that a high-tech office complex in Sweden is offering tenant staff the option of having a small RFID radio frequency identification chip implanted into their wrist, which would allow certain functions in the building to be performed with the wave of the hand, such as opening doors and operating photocopiers. This is being made available through a Swedish biohacking group which promotes the use of bio-enhancement technology and predicts a future in which implant systems will monitor a range of inputs from body sensors while interacting with the Internet of Things. So soon we will have the possibility of being connected to the Internet as well as a network of smart devices in the home. We will become cyborgs by default. People are predicting that one day it will not be a matter of choice for humans, and I feel that we are heading down that path, that very timeline, if humanity does not wake up to what is happening everywhere. If this happens, we will probably lose our remaining freedoms and privacy in the process. A BBC News report highlighted the story of Hannes Joblad, a biohacker that organizes implant parties where volunteers are implanted. He is starting small, aiming to get 100 volunteers signed up in the coming months, with 50 people already implanted. His vision, though, is much bigger. Then there will be a 1,000, then 10,000. I am convinced that this technology is here to stay, and we will think it nothing strange to have an implant in the hand. In years to come, this technology will still advance further from purely opening doors, and that potential could be considered scary. Since we have the technology of bionic limbs and pacemakers, it begs the question of how many people would subject themselves to this. The idea of a centralized power or authority with the capability to control direct communications and the ability to access a person's body with GPS monitoring of location. Monitoring of heart rate and potentially the control of emotions and brain waves is a concern. Would we then be classed more cyborg than human or more human than cyborg? Once this path has been initiated, there will probably be no turning back. Talking of microchips, there really can never be enough surveillance on us. Not just happy with keeping tabs on our phone calls, emails, computers, and with cameras everywhere. In the United States, the FDA approved a plan for a microchip within a pill. This idea will of course be presented to us by the controlled media, particularly the news channels, along the lines that it will be beneficial from a health point of view. People can be checked upon to see if they've taken their medicine, the correct doses and at the correct times, but how else could this be of benefit to them rather than to us? This technology of course would have cost serious money to develop, and could a microchipped pill have the side effects of controlling our emotions and moods and even make us more docile and easier to control, just like sheep? Probably. Surveillance upon us through internal microchips is nothing new. A former DARPA director named Regina Duggan, now Google executive, has been known of for some time for wanting humans to swallow microchips, and apparently has been pushing for electronic tattoos capable of mind reading. This plan in effect turns the person ingesting the microchip into a walking biological id, enabling them to access their computers, phones, bank accounts, doors as part of a smart system. But what are the darker intents of the creators and developers of such technology? This is a potential assault on our freedoms, and then we can easily be tracked and monitored by the authorities. The fact that such authorities have lied in the past about snooping on us is a massive red flag. Microchip technology has been years in the planning. Geospatial intelligence metadata collection for over 15 years has been used to map out human behavior for mass surveillance. As we are dealing with the technology aspects of health, there has been created a minute computer called a nanobot, and these nanobots have been placed into the common cockroach. Nano-sized entities made up of DNA are able to perform the same kind of logical operations as a silicon-based computer. These DNA computers, known as origami robots because they work by folding and unfolding strands of DNA, travel around the insect's body, and they interact with each other as well as the insect's cells. When they uncurl, they can dispense drugs that they carry. A bioengineer at the Wyss Institute at Harvard University named Anil Levner says DNA robots could potentially carry out complex programs that could one day be used to diagnose or treat diseases with unprecedented sophistication. Levner and his colleagues made these nanobots by exploiting the binding properties of DNA. When it meets a certain kind of protein, DNA unravels into two complementary strands. By creating specific sequences, the strands can be made to unravel on contact with certain molecules, those on a diseased cell. Co-author Ada Bachelet says the higher the number of robots present, the more complex the decisions and actions that can be achieved. If you reach a certain threshold of capability, you can perform any kind of computation. The team thinks it should be able to scale up the computing power in the cockroach to that of an 8-bit computer, equivalent to a Commodore 64 or Atari 800 from the 1980s. A potential benefit of this technology would be cancer treatments, because these must be cell-specific and current treatments are not. Bachelet also says that there is no reason why preliminary trials on humans can't start within 5 years. What a thought this is! The potential for this technology to be developed and used by governments or the military-industrial complex to control the general public. Such technology, nanobots, could be developed to exist within our bodies and perform various tasks in order to supposedly improve our health and to fight against disease. At least that will be the line used by the medical profession, and it will be disguised as positive by the elite in order to control us and make us more docile. These nanobots microchips will be the command centers for our own bodies, enabling others to control our bodies instead of ourselves. But maybe this has already happened and is being used to control the humans that assassinate people on behalf of the elite illuminati. For the real zombie apocalypse, overhead passing satellites will send information to the nanobots or microchips in order to remote control humans 24 hours a day and control any potential uprising of the dissatisfied human being.